Hello everyone, so welcome to my channel Digital Diaries, and we are going to look into the real exam questions part 2 for AZ-400 Azure DevOps Expert exam. So let's get started. First question is, you have an existing build pipeline in Azure pipelines and you need to use incremental builds without purging the environment between pipeline execution. What should you use? So we have three options: file transform task, self-hosted agent, Microsoft hosted parallel jobs. So always remember, when you don't want to delete the environment and use it between the builds, you are always going to use self-hosted agents. So let's check. The answer is self-hosted agents. And for further explanation, in Microsoft hosted agents, they are freshly provisioned and they do not retain any environment or state between the builds. For self-hosted agents, they run on infrastructure that user manages and they retain the build environment and workspaces across runs. Next question, you are building an application that has the following assets. So for what are the assets? We have source code, we have common library used by multiple applications, logs from automated tests and builds, and large and frequently updated binary assets. And we have to select Azure service corresponding to all these options. So let's check. For source code, we are going to use Azure repos. Common library used by multiple application, we are going to use Azure artifacts. For automated test and build, we are going to use Azure pipelines, and for frequently and large updated binary assets, we will use Azure storage. Always remember, for binary assets we are going to use Azure storage. Azure test plan, so it is a part of SDLC and it is a, you can say, browser based manual and exploratory testing tool in Azure DevOps. So next question is, you are building release strategies so for two applications. So for app 1, so we are building that app 1 has a major impact on our company. Failure of this app has a major impact on company and we need it to be released to a small group of users. Okay, so and those users will test the application in app 1. For app 2, we need to minimize the time it takes to deploy new releases of app 2, and we want to roll back as quickly as possible. We want to select from these three release strategies: blue green deployment, canary deployment, and rolling deployment. So for app 1, since there is a small group of users, we are going to choose canary deployment, and we want to roll back our app in app 2. That is the priority, and downtime should be minimum. Okay, so it will be blue green deployment. Let's check. For app 1 we are using canary deployment, for app 2 we are using blue green deployment, and this is the explanation for all of it. So for canary deployment, the traffic control is gradual, percentage based rollout, and rollback is easy. In blue green deployment, it is all at one switch between the environments and rollback is very easy. Rolling deployment, so update occurs in batches and rollback is harder. Okay, next question is, we are going to automate the testing process for our company and we need to automate UI testing of a web application. So which framework we will use? So options are Jacoco, Selenium, Xamarin, and Microsoft Code Analysis. So always remember, in web application cases for UI testing, Selenium is the answer. Okay, so the other options, the explanation is Jacoco is a code coverage tool for Java unit test cases. Okay, Selenium is a browser based automation framework, and for Xamarin UI test cases, it is a C# based testing framework for automating UI tests on Android and iOS apps. Microsoft Code Analysis, it is a set of .NET compiler APIs for code analysis, refactoring, and tooling. Next question is, we have an Azure virtual machine named VM1 that runs Linux, and you plan to deploy the desired state configuration extension to VM1, and we want to give permission to log analytics agent to an appropriate directory. Okay, so we have a command given, set facl file. Okay, so it is for setting access control list, and we want to give our log analytics agent permission to a specific directory. Okay, so we have options here, the kind of permission we want to give: read, execute, read, execute, read, write, execute. Okay, and these are the libraries: lib, lib, etc, tmp, and user. So you want to select the permission and the directory. So what we will give rx read and execute permission in the etc directory. So first of all, set facl is a set file access control list. We will give read and execute permission, allowing the agent to read configuration files and traverse directories. etc is a common location for desired state configuration and settings on Linux. Okay, so it is the directory that we will choose. Now we will explain that we are using least privileges, so that's why we are not giving read, write and execute permissions. The complete command will be set facl -m u:/oms agent rx /etc. Okay. Sixth question, your company uses Azure DevOps. Only users who have accounts in Azure Active Directory can access the Azure DevOps environment. You need to ensure that only devices that are connected to the on-premises network can access the Azure DevOps environment. What should you use? So here we need to look at the condition. The condition is only devices that are on premises network can access the DevOps environment. So in this we will check that option D is for Azure Active Directory configuring conditional access. So this will be the answer, and we will check for other options as well why we are not going to select them. So the answer is an Azure Active Directory configure conditional access. Okay, so the first option was assign the stakeholder access level to all users. We haven't selected it because stakeholder access level limits features but does not restrict access based on network or device. Okay, in Azure Active Directory configure risky sign-ins. So risky sign-ins will detect potential account compromise, but it will not enforce network or location based restriction. Other option was configure security in project settings. So this configure project level permissions, not network based access permissions. Next is where should the build and release agents for the investment planning application suite run. So they have given us two agents, one build agent and other is release agent, and they have given us options that where we will run those agents, a hosted service, a source control system or developer's computer. So we can see that options are same for both of these, and we know that a source control system does not run the agent, and we are surely not going to do it on a developer's computer. So the only option remaining is hosted service. So the answer will be hosted service for both build and release agent. Question 8, you are using PowerShell to administer Azure Log Analytics workspaces and you need to list the available workspaces and their properties. How should you complete the command? So they have given us two boxes or to select. So we need to, what we need to do, we need to list the available workspaces and their properties in our subscription. Okay, so they have given this. What we will select, get AZ resource, get AZ resource group, get AZ resource provider, and how we will filter it by group name, by ID or by type. Okay, since we need to select all the available workspaces, we will check that we will first run get AZ resource. It will retrieve all the Azure resources and then will apply the resource type filter because we want workspaces types of resources there. Okay, so answer will be get AZ resources and resource type filter. And the expand properties, just for information, retrieves detailed workspace properties like location, retention, link services, etc. Next question, your company has 4 projects. Okay, and the version control system requirement for each project are shown in the following table. Okay, so company has 4 project 1, 2, 3, 4, and they have following requirements. For project 1, they have project leads that must be able to restrict access to individual files and folders. In project 2, they want version control system before committing to the main branch, merging to the main branch. Two policies need to be fulfilled. One is at least 2 project members should review and associated work item should be there. Okay, and third project is that project members must be able to work in the Azure repos directly from Xcode, and fourth will be the release branch must only be viewable or editable by project leads. In project 1 and project 4, we are going to tune permissions. Okay, we are going to control find permissions, and in project 2 and 3 we are going to control the distribution of code or how we want to control the version control system. Okay, so let's check. First of all, we will go through the explanation. Subversion. So subversion is a centralized version control system that maintains a single repo. Okay, perforce, it is also a central version control system, but it is for large scale enterprise code bases where performance matters. Team Foundation version control system, so it is also a centralized version control system by Microsoft, and here we will tune our fine-grained permissions for DevOps. Okay, Git is a distributed version control system where every developer has a full copy. So from the explanation we can see in project 1 and project 4 we want permissions, so we have selected option third, Team Foundation version control, and 3 and project 2 and 3 we want a distributed copy, and every developer wants to. In project 3 we have seen that the developer can push the code to a repo directly from Xcode, so we have selected Git for project 2 and 3. Next question is, you are planning projects for 3 customers, okay, and each customer has a preferred process for work items. Okay, so we will see the customers what they are planning to use Azure DevOps for work item management. So which work item process should you use for each customer? So we have 3 customers, Litware, Contoso and Datum. For Litware, the preferred process will be product backlog items and bugs on Kanban board, and they want to break PBIs down into tasks on the task board. Contoso wants to track user stories and bugs on the Kanban board and track the bugs and tasks on the task board. And Datum wants to track requirements, change requests, and risk and review. So we have all 3 customers here, and the processes given are Agile, CMMI, Scrum or XP. Let's check what we will use. So for Litware, we are going to use Scrum. Whenever you will listen the word product backlogs, go for Scrum. Okay. Contoso, we are going to use Agile. Okay, it is a flexible development process, and where we will incorporate customer feedback and adaptive planning. For Datum, we are going to use CMMI. CMMI is basically for process improvement. So whenever we want to track requests, changes, etc., we are going to use CMMI. XP is stand for extreme programming. It is an agile methodology emphasizing technical excellence through practices like pair programming and test-driven development. So thank you everyone for watching the video, and stay tuned for next videos. Okay, bye.